If you were a book, what genre of book would you be?
Romantic comedy?
Science fiction.
Nonfiction.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, see, not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
Why are you in a romantic comedy?
I'm not a romantic comedy. I'd be a self-help book. I don't know. That's
Self like how to
Self-help?
for dummies.
Self-help
Like-
in romantic comedy?
honestly, you just made up a whole new genre.
So you picked science fiction
Yeah.
because
You're a nerd.
you're no longer doing vlogs, so you watch the grass grow. And
Yeah. The science.
What was that
Science.
about? Over here.
Somebody commented on one of my videos saying like, "Hey, you can watch grass grow funny." So that was
So
my
you made a
attempt.
video about it?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I don't think I achieved that, but we'll see.
The fast was getting to you. That's what
Yeah.
happened. But no, that grass looked pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I was fasting. I was like, man, I'd eat that right now.
Increase the saturation and
Yeah.
What
No,
did
like
you say?
in Willy Wonka, right?
yeah.
They eat the grass
yeah,
in
they
that.
do.
Yeah.
I said nonfiction.
Oh, I
What
could see that.
autobiography?
Just
could see
just
that.
straight to the point, like no BS. Well,
I mean,
actually,
fiction's a lot of BS.
Oh wait, no, I was thinking fiction.
No.
Or
nonfiction.
Nonfiction can be a lot of BS.
really? What do you
I
mean?
feel like, yeah.
Why? How?
I mean, people put their commentaries and stuff like on, the nonfiction part. They can always like it's not everything is true.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I
wait,
guess
but
that
you're
depends.
more fiction, Frost.
I'm more fiction.
Yeah,
How?
cause he's like, his brain's all like out there in another world.
How's that fiction? No, I actually like when it comes to reading books, I hate reading fiction. Like I like watching.
I don't like reading. I like listening to my
Period.
books. I like listening to my books.
Read books, kids.
Yeah.
Don't listen to
Read
Amber.
books.
Yeah. Read, but then also gain knowledge from other sources as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you guys for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer,
I'm FARAS.
My name is Amber.
and this is brought to you by Alif Theory. You can find us on all social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
No way.
We're all on YouTube, SoundCloud, Anchor, and
Anchor?
wherever you listen to podcasts and whatnot. If you have any stories or music or questions, etc., you can send them to our email at strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com.
In fact, in this very episode, we have music coming in from a listener, so that's pretty cool. I like when you guys send us your tracks. That's always fun to listen to what you're creating and stuff. And yeah, we love to feature you guys. So thank you for
Send
sending
them
that
in.
And also, speaking of the Anchor app, we actually got. What are you laughing at?
Can we can we address the fact that last week I sounded crazy on the podcast and this week you sound crazy?
Sorry, guys.
I'm next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nasally Shimmer. No, Shimmer's nasally like year round. So
I'm
it makes
always
up for it.
sick.
No, but thanks to you guys for all of your support and listens. We've been getting a lot more listeners. And so we are able to put in a second sponsorship on Anchor, which we're pretty excited about.
Are they excited about that? Like, oh yay, another sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
Be
hope
happy
that
for
they
us.
are
They wanna
excited
support-
to support us. 'Cause we-
Yeah.
Monetarily,
Yeah.
just by listening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And while you're on that, you can also give us feedback on the Apple Podcast app, which helps us out tremendously. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, just take a minute and just search us up and leave us a review. Leave some commentary of what you think of the podcast. Also, if you're listening on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and
That
always
thumbs
feel
up.
free. Thumbs up, comment on it.
Notifications on.
We love reading your guys' comments. That's always helpful because I know you can't comment on these podcasts, but you can send voice messages now, which we'll be telling you about shortly.
Whoa.
What?
That's what the sponsorship is.
Oh
No
yeah, on
way.
Anchor.
Yeah, see, they don't even know.
Yeah.
Insert ad now.
Yeah, but anyways, there's these guy and girl Snapchat filters that have been
yeah.
really popular. Have you guys used these?
I feel like they've taken over the internet, but yeah.
Yeah.
They're done so well.
Yeah.
Like
They are.
they're perfect, but like I feel like for guys, if our egos weren't already so high, now we're looking at ourselves as females where we're like, whoa, like I'd be a
And
hot
Nikisha?
girl.
Yeah. Except the girls, we look we look so bad with the guy filter on.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that was like the guys look really good as girls. I'm just saying, like it was something like that, which she's trying to make a point that like girls are cuter than guys. Period.
That's
Oh.
That's true.
Whoa.
I mean,
Step back, boys.
yeah. Did you guys see the one that was like this girl who was like kind of like kissing her boyfriend and stuff, but she had the man filter on, and then he was like, he looked back, he's like, whoa, chill,
I saw that.
I told you not to do that with these filters.
And that baby one is really cute too.
The baby one's adorable, but it won't show up.
I look ugly as hell as the baby.
Really?
I think because it shows my hair and like shows the fade and everything in the baby form, so it looks so weird. But
The
also,
best thing that people are doing is the girl and guy versions of like songs together. Like,
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
duets.
That's cool.
That's like the best ones that
Yeah.
I've seen.
I'm waiting for somebody to get offended by this somewhere. I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet.
yeah.
Offended.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be
There's
some
something
people
like-
that-
How?
Whoa,
Yeah.
where's our gender? I don't know.
Whoa.
But
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like it's
Yeah.
got to be something like that. But on that sort of same note, I want to discuss something that has come up recently, and it's been this whole Aisha Curry stir. Have you heard about this at all?
Oh, Aisha Curry?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
So she's Stephen Curry's wife, the basketball player on the Warriors, and she came on the is it Red Table Talk?
Red Table Talk with Jada
That
Pinkett Smith.
Right. So they do those, and she was talking about how she feels insecure because she's not getting hit on by guys.
Okay, so let's preface this differently because the conversation that they were having is that they had all the women in the family, so the mother, Aisha Curry, and then the sister of Stephen and the other brother's wife, okay? So all these are the girls, and they're basically talking about being the female role and how like what it's like to have their men have so much female attention. That was the conversation they were having, and the conversation was how they deal with it. And so she was saying, you know, it's come to a point where when it happens to him, he introduces me and we've kind of had that conversation, but it's harder because it's not like I get that same attention back. I'm only seeing him get that attention. So when it comes to me, I haven't gotten that attention in a really long time, and I'm just saying like that would be nice. And
she's gotten blasted by this online.
So
That's not what I'm here to
badly.
do. But I do want to say, I feel like what she's doing by saying like, you know, she was saying like she wishes that she would get catcalled and stuff nowadays, right?
She didn't say catcalled.
She kind of said that.
She didn't say catcalled at all. I feel like she just made a point
She would
that,
like
that
for
she
men
feels,
to comment on her body and stuff like that. And
I think
what
it's
I'm
just
trying
an
to say,
attention thing. Like she doesn't feel like
she gets enough attention.
like you know, she has 3 kids. You know, women tend to get insecure at that point in their life, and she's just saying that here my husband is this like star, and he gets all this attention. Where's mine?
Yeah. So my thing is like I'm all for her speaking up about
Her insecurities.
what's bothering her, right? But I feel like people, like especially girls that are looking at this, maybe it's kind of like you're seeking somebody to validate you, and I feel like this whole thing with social media and the internet, the problem with it right now is that we're so like looking for likes and attention and stuff that this kind of reinforces that idea that like, yeah, I should feel insecure about that. I don't know if like I actually didn't watch, so I didn't watch the rest of it besides that part, so maybe someone can correct me if I'm like not speaking right on this, but I feel like somebody should let her know like and I believe that Jada was commenting like you don't need that and stuff, right? I feel like there should be somebody to come in and commentate on like what's going on here and what she's feeling, how to deal with that and stuff.
Right.
I don't know, like I just feel like if girls and just even guys, like young people are listening to this, they're kind of understanding that, oh, like I also feel that way, and
I think that if anything,
I should get
it brings it kind of not
because you know like the whole Me Too movement and stuff, like what if that starts happening? They're like, oh wait, but she asked for it.
There's a difference
Overdid it.
between
And
then
getting
they're like-
attention and then being catcalled. No woman wants to be catcalled.
Okay.
I think the idea is that like when where's the environments that she's in, right? She's at these games, and at
But
these
isn't
games
that
there's these
inappropriate?
female.
Wait,
No, so
could it also be like respect? Like, oh, this is Steph Curry's wife. Let's not.
Yeah,
right,
that's
right.
what I'm saying.
So I think the idea is her bringing up how she feels insecure by like not getting the same amount of attention or even anywhere near it, right? Or for that matter, no attention except for from her husband. And all the other women were very quick to be like, sweetie, like that's something that you think you want until you get it, and then you very quickly realize you don't want it. So I think for her to say it, I don't think it was harmful, because she was probably saying things that other people were feeling. Like, okay, like, you know, I also do feel this way in my life. Like, I'm feeling insecure. I have 3 kids, and I'm like, you know, here, like, you know, my husband.
And there were
can go
plenty of
out
people that said that, you know, I'm feeling the exact same way. I'm a mom too, and I feel that way. And my husband's all out there looking good and stuff.
Exactly. And then Jada and her mom and her mother-in-law came in and were like, sweetie, you don't want that, but like, we can see why you're saying it. Yeah. So I think it was good. It's not, I don't think it's detrimental to, you know, just younger girls watching this stuff, because it's being addressed, and then also addressed on the other side. Like, you think you want it until you get it, and then you actually don't want it. I think
the missing part of the equation is that she's a celebrity. And average people that are listening to it will not be able to relate on that level that she's talking about. Your husband is not Steph Curry.
Maybe, like, it seems like if you have like a rich husband or something, and he's like,
but
you know.
We're talking about fame, like.
But other people, will be approached more easily.
Imagine being married to Beyonce and you're not Jay-Z. Like, you know, you that's something that you kind of sign up for.
Right.
But like, let's talk in like a regular.
But that's the other thing people brought in. Okay,
that you signed up for it.
No, not that she signed up for it, but that she was 18 or something when she met him. Okay. Got married at like 21. And had 3 kids, and it's been like so. She
looks good,
and she's only ever been with him, and she's been with him since a very young age. So now everybody's also, you know, respecting that Steph Curry's wife and everything. So people aren't going to pass that boundary and say anything to her. But she's never really had attention from another man, so she's missing kind of.
And that's cool that she talks about it.
No, but you know, like people from high school, I've heard it from people who like have married their high school sweethearts, right? Okay. They're like, you know, I this is all I know. I've never had anything else. Yeah. And I think it kind of sounded like that.
People in our culture do that, like, straight up all the time,
right?
Because
it's also a different world.
It's not even that they, like, high school sweetheart. It's like, yo, I'm 30 now. I got to get married to this person I've never met before. And then that's all they ever know too. But
30, she got married at such a young age that she never really had an experience with anyone else. They met at church, had a very conservative life, then got married right away, had kids, and they've had this successful career since. I think that she's had such little life experience when it comes to that department that she vocally spoke about how she feels insecure about it.
It's the world around her that makes her feel this way?
Absolutely.
Because again, people in our culture, like, they don't see it that way. They're just like, what do you mean? I don't.
Or do they?
I definitely.
Or do they?
It depends where they live or something. Yeah. I guess it all depends.
It's definitely the world that she's in, and that's why
Steph Curry supported her on what she said, and again, like, I think it's great that she spoke up and was honest about it.
Steph Curry's gonna be like, "Hey, yo, boys, hit on my way."
I'm just curious about like how other people perceive it.
Yeah, I just didn't like I had people on my Facebook timeline going off, like same people making 4 or 5
different. No, that's not cool. That's not cool to bash her at all.
And saying how like, oh, like you're being disrespectful to your man, you're being this and this and that, and it's like you're gonna tell her how to feel when she's speaking about her insecurities, and it's not even her man who has the issue. Like, she spoke about her insecurities, and it was literally, and I'm telling you, this was literally like a 15 second thing out of a 30-minute episode. And people took just like any word that she said and they like put it out there. And it's happened to her in the past too, when she's, you know, talked about being modest and being, you know, all this stuff. People are like, oh, you think you're so good and this and that. So anything that Ayesha Curry really says kind of, you know, I think it's like a battle for people, and you know,
I mean, I wish dudes would talk about it that way instead of just going out and cheating and trying to get
that's true,
validated that way. But hey,
right, and dudes do that, you know, like in his case, he could be going out and like getting girls or whatever, and she's like, I'm not trying to do that, I'm just saying that like I'm missing that.
Yeah. Now, Amber, you recently worked on a little doc series, it was, about domestic violence. Talk about that a little bit. Why was that? You know, what was that about, and why was it important for you to do that?
So I was recruited by this person, Khalil Ismail,
who was on the podcast before. So go ahead and check out his, and he's a really cool creative, and he works with this organization called Muslimat al-Nisa, and that's an organization that does things like providing shelter, providing healthcare for those that are uninsured or can't afford it. I actually worked with the same organization 5 years ago when they did a Chili Bowl Sunday, which is like on the same weekend of Super Bowl, they like make a bunch of chili and they go out in Baltimore, they set up tables and provide a lot of food for the homeless. Is it halal?
Yeah. And
really?
I don't know if it's halal, but I just know it's chili.
They're just getting rid of their food.
And then like a bunch of like, toiletries and stuff. So I was aware of the organization as well. And it was actually, I got to go in the shelters and see kind of what the situation is. They shared the stories of some of them. And it was really crazy to me that this is the only Muslim women's shelter on the East Coast. And you'd be like, okay, well, why is that important? Why do you need a Muslim women's shelter? And there's a huge difference, like, when it comes to just the food that's coming in, because they are, like, once they're in the actual shelter, they're cooking the food, they're providing it for themselves and their kids. And so, even just as simple as, like, getting halal meat. And then furthermore, getting resources such as, trying to find jobs and, feeling comfortable with somebody checking them out and stuff. And the person who runs it is actually a nurse who does most of the health type things on there. So my role in all of this was to reenact the story of a woman who had been, abused, had been beaten by her husband many, many times, and lived actually not in Maryland, and traveled to this shelter to come seek refuge from, Muslimat al-Nisa. They have 2 shelters, and I think that they're doing a really cool thing. So if it's cool for us, go ahead and put the link in the bio to donate to them, because it is run on a full donation basis. And I think that I didn't realize the importance of having a Muslim women's shelters for Muslims who need it until I went there, and I realized the comfort that brings, and how the people there can understand it, because they understand the cultural boundaries that come with it. Whereas in a typical shelter, they're not going to provide you those same resources, because they're not going to understand why you're so caring about the in-laws, so caring about this person or whatever, because the culture is just different.
Yeah. And the part of the video that you guys dropped so far was pretty cool. Like Dawar was actually in it, and it looked serious. Like at first I was like, how are Dawar and Amber gonna pull this up? But no, you guys did a good job. And it's cool to see that, because I think back home especially, there's so many cases of domestic violence.
Absolutely.
And I actually had somebody message me about your guys' video and was saying like, I'm so glad they're doing this, and because I think they live in Pakistan or India, and they were saying that I see this case happen around me all the time, and it's just important for us to talk about these things. So it's pretty cool that you guys brought that up. Yeah. Awesome. In other video and film world, I guess a lot is going on. They're doing a lot of remakes of different things. I heard Robert Pattinson might be playing Batman or something.
Oh yeah.
But also
Twilight vampire.
But also I heard the Saw franchise is being rebooted.
Oh yeah, by Chris Rock.
Are those the funny movie series?
No, that's
Parody?
Scary Movie. You're thinking of
okay.
Scary Movie.
Saw
Exactly.
is like scary movie?
Saw is like people cutting up, like playing games. You know the puppet. He's like, you want to play a game? Like
The one that rides a tricycle. He's a clown with the spiral.
Yeah,
so there was like 7 of those movies.
6ix9ine's tattoo that he has.
Yeah.
That guy.
So there's like 7 of these movies, and one was like released actually like 2 years ago. And Chris Rock is actually rebooting the franchise.
So a
Comedian.
comedian
And
is doing.
Is he trying to make it funny?
I don't think so, but I think he's trying to go the Jordan Peele route, try to make like horror movies, like because he was a comedian too.
Okay, that would
maybe
make sense.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe now all these.
So why they reboot? Like they just released them. And I'm so tired of those.
They're
Isn't
gonna
everybody
reboot it
tired
as
of
in
those?
start from the beginning.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Okay, I really.
Can we not?
Yeah.
That's just
Can
so
we start a
weird.
petition? No, I guess we'll be open-minded to it and see what happens.
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Anyways, the stranger on today's episode of Strange Flavors is SHAWN ALVAREZ. SHAWN is actually a gay man that is in the Air Force. So he's going to be talking to us about what that is like, and he's actually suffers with HIV. So that is something that I've never met anybody that I know that has that. But I just want to kind of go in this interview with an open mind, understand sort of what he faced and sort of like things that he went through with his circumstances. So everybody, please give it up for SHAWN. Your skin is good because of Ramadan?
Yes.
Why?
Really?
Because I'm just not eating any like junk or anything like that. I'm just really focusing on eating healthy and everything.
So you try to eat healthier during Ramadan too?
I've lost 11 pounds since the beginning of Ramadan.
Whoa.
That's completely against the tradition. So we actually eat extremely fried food and,
Yeah.
and get fat.
Well, I get sick
Uh-huh.
with fried food. Like
you're
even
doing
if
it
I
the right
eat Chick-fil-A, like I'll get sick, but I'll still eat it because it's so good.
But when you're fasting, you're like, let me go healthy with it.
Most of the time.
Have you
I'll
been
eat
fasting
like a
every
chicken
day?
salad.
That's how we should do
Have
it.
you been fasting every day?
I have.
Whoa.
Wow.
And this is actually not your first year, right?
No, I did it last year as well.
And you're not Muslim?
No.
So why do it?
In support of Neha, actually.
That's
Okay,
it.
who is my sister who works with you over at
Johns Hopkins, yep.
That's right. So you did it. When was the first year you did it? Last year?
Last year was the first year I did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he actually has you have the Muslim Pro app, right?
I do, yeah.
So he
to
knows.
remind me when like the end of the day is, so that like I can eat.
Yeah.
check the
She was telling me
sunset?
yesterday. She's like, "Oh, he feels guilty because he said that he opened before Maghrib."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So, what else do you think that you're sort of getting out of the month besides losing this weight? Is there anything?
I guess emotional like control.
Okay.
When I'm hungry, I'm very angry and I get very emotional. And with my career, it's just definitely not okay to get angry at the kids that I work with. Just because I'm hungry.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that like, as I grow older, I sort of realize about Ramadan is like it's not about the food at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like, you are like the most angry or hangry
Yeah.
when you're hungry, and if you can control your emotions at that point, then it's like you could really
You're giving
discipline yourself
right.
mentally through anything.
Mm-hmm.
And mental health is something that you work with. You mentioned at Johns Hopkins. So what you like that?
Okay,
you like that
transition. Okay.
What do you do over there, and what got you interested in that?
Well, I'm a rehab therapist. I got into mental health career field through the Air Force. I am a reservist up in Niagara Falls, New York.
A reservist?
A reservist, which means I only go once a month and 2 weeks per year to duty.
Okay.
So I don't usually have a
Okay.
beard. I
Got it.
shave it for that weekend because it's part of the regulations. And I don't know, it helps people. And that's what I really wanted to get into, was helping people. It doesn't help me per se, because I get really beat down, burnt out by doing it. But I want to consider myself as somebody who has a big heart, and mental health is a way to get into that.
What's kind of like the day-to-day that you do with your job?
Well, I go in, I do my notes, which is basically just a write-up per patient that I have. I have 6 patients currently on my caseload. We have about 25 to 30 patients regularly in the program through 6 or 7 people who are writing notes about the patients. After I'm done writing the notes, I prepare my groups, which are anything from learning how to cope with anger, sadness, depression, anything emotional, social skills, and then sometimes I have to put kids into holds when they're in
What does that
crisis. So sometimes they get violent with us. I actually had to put in a patient in a hold yesterday with the assistance of another coworker. And we had to actually call security because she was so violent with us, kicking, scratching, screaming.
What do you do in that
yelling.
case? Are you like to like throw hands or?
No, I mean, it's just so like we bring one of their arms under the other arm, and it's like,
Oh, so there's like a
it's
procedure.
like a toss. Yeah, it's like, and they're held so they can't move their arms.
Oh, like a straitjacket
And then,
type of.
yeah, kind of. Yeah, really, that's really
And
what
when
it
the
is.
security guards come, is there a chance of like them, like if they don't calm down, do they have like a shot? Like I've heard that in certain psych wards and stuff, they'll like give them a shot to calm them down.
Not in the child instance.
Okay.
I know with some of our older patients who are 18 to 24, we have actually had to do that just because they were throwing chairs and flipping tables in a public area, which they're not really allowed to do, which is against their treatment, and it's not compliant with their treatment. So I know security guards have had to like hold people down, and they've had to get doctors and nurses over in order to sedate them, in order to transfer them to the emergency department. But with the kids, it's a little bit easier because they're anywhere from like 5 or 6 years old to like 14, 15, 16 years old. So like we don't really have a lot of bigger kids. We have maybe 3. And
That's
I know
a pretty big age range, though. That's
Yeah,
like a child
absolutely.
to a teenager. So
Yep.
you have kids that are, just learning how to, function, and then kids that are going through adolescence.
Absolutely.
Well, so what about the children that are, dealing with like puberty and, just becoming that, and then also dealing with their emotional issues?
See, it's really funny because the patient that I put into hold yesterday, I feel like is in that transition period for puberty. So like her emotions are like spiking in different ways, and so she gets really offended or she gets really defensive if something happens to her, and she starts to go into crisis and she doesn't know how to control herself. And what we do is we just try to teach them proper ways to control themselves or control their emotions, so that she's not, or they're not going into crisis all the time. Because you can't be in school sitting in a class of 25, 30 people and just start to go overboard and flip tables and chairs and everything like that. It disrupts the classroom. And schools aren't really equipped to deal with situations like that.
Do you get caught up ever in dealing with this every day and having your own mental health suffer in any way?
Sometimes I'll be burnt out. I'll be tired. I won't have a lot of energy, but in the mornings I usually wake up. I force myself to get up and go to the gym, because that's how I deal with my own mental health issues, is throwing weights, running for 40 minutes at a time, throwing all the anxiety or anything that I have out the window by throwing weights and running. So I don't really find it an issue to deal with my own mental health issues.
And now you're fasting on top of that.
Right, yeah.
That's tough. So props to you, because I know for a lot of us, we've been doing this for some time, but to go into it just sort of
as an adult.
Yeah, as an adult, and then being in this field,
and you really don't have to even for that matter.
Well, so
he's committed.
Yeah.
That's what's dope.
So I love culture. I love learning about different cultures. And when I met your sister Neha, I felt kind of bad that she had to do this by herself. So I was like, I'll throw my hat into the ring too, and kind of be an accountability partner for her.
I wish kids in elementary school treated me like that. They'd be eating nachos in front of me. Guess what you can't do?
You're hungry.
Well, so it's funny because we do have a couple coworkers who will joke about that, but they'll drop it after once.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can get ice cream, but I'm not going to eat it in front of you because I don't want you to feel guilty about fasting or anything like that. So,
no, you are. I noticed. Pretty open to cultures and just people in general. I actually talked about this on the podcast, but I really enjoyed the experience of you actually invited us to your house for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was the first time that I've ever been at a gay couple's Thanksgiving. I would have never imagined that I'd be sitting at a Thanksgiving dinner hosted by a gay couple. I don't know, that just doesn't. That wouldn't have ever crossed my mind.
Was it all gay couples or?
No. So it was me, my partner. My partner worked.
I'm straight.
Worked with.
If you didn't know me.
My partner worked with somebody who's in a lesbian couple, and we were the only gay ones that were there. All four of us, and it was 11 people, I think, maybe 10.
All age range too.
All age range. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
it
awesome.
was 22 or 21 to. I don't know how old Amanda's mom is, but 45, 50 years old. So it was the range of, I don't know.
What made you bring everybody for things Thanksgiving? With family and stuff. It seems like you brought everybody for a certain reason, or.
Well, no, I like hosting.
And he was cooking.
I like preparing.
They
You
cooked
cooked
everything.
I did.
Oh.
I cooked everything,
and it was good.
You're fancy.
I gotta say, we love Thanksgiving dinners and stuff. But this was definitely the top one. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
You guys did a good job. And for dessert, they had a whole thing. And you weren't allowed to get up. He was like, I have to serve it to you. And then even coffee and everything. They had all the more than Starbucks.
More than Starbucks.
It was real. It was real.
If you think my Thanksgiving was fancy, you should come to one of my brunches.
Let's do it. I'm down.
I got French toast roll-ups, egg casserole.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's
so
great.
when you first are invited to something like this as an outsider, I'll say you're not really sure, and I'm what is this gonna be? I'm telling my sister, I'm it's your coworkers, why don't you go ahead? She's no, you'll like this, and you kind of don't believe it at that point, but then when you get there, it's you realize how important it really is to understand where everybody comes from in their different backgrounds and everything. And one of the coolest things about that was that everybody at the end kind of shared their fears and hopes for the future.
And
I was
Thanksgiving
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
is this a movie or what? But no, I'm sure you didn't have it like that growing up. So,
No, I didn't. It was actually very structured, and the kids really weren't allowed to speak. It was more of like we have.
What
to
do you mean
show
the kids weren't allowed to speak?
So like it was more like it was an adult occasion. My grandparents, my parents, and then it was me and my two brothers, and then that's all it was. And the only people who were really allowed to talk at the table were the adults because they knew what they were talking about.
Could the
Is this
kids
like
talk
a-
amongst themselves?
What?
Could the kids talk amongst themselves?
No. So we were all separated.
Is this like a Christian
So-
household?
So you know how like I had arranged the table so that no one knew each other that they were sitting next to for
Right.
the most part?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was at Thanksgiving dinner growing up, is that
Okay.
like I was at one seat, my brother was at the other end of the table, and then my other brother was across the table. So like we were not near each other because we weren't really allowed to speak. We grew up with a theory that children are seen and not heard. So that if children were speaking, they were speaking out of turn.
I don't know why I feel like this somewhat ties into like the love and affection that you have towards your kids at your job in a way.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to like encompass that theory as well. Children are seen as not heard because there are moments when children are just acting irrationally, when they don't know what's going on, and the adult has to make a decision. For example, if you bring in all of these school shootings and all of this violence in schools, children should be quiet because the adults are the ones who are making the decisions to keep the children safe. You have your special instances where you have a senior in high school who's tackling a shooter and then dies because he took that for the rest of the school to save the school. But kids 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade and younger, if they're crying, if they're speaking out of turn in a situation like that, they can get a lot of people hurt. And I kind of want to instill that like mentality into the kids, but at the same time I want them to have their own voice. I want them to know when is the right time to speak out. So I kind of teach them when is the right time to speak out. If something's wrong, if something's illegal, immoral, or unethical and it's happening against you, then that is a time to speak out. No matter who you are, no matter what age you are.
So like a balance,
Right.
somewhere. I think
You don't have to speak out about everything that you feel offended by.
I think a famous philosopher named Meek Mill once said, "There's levels to this ish." Yeah, he thinks it's Meek Mill, the rapper. You got.
I know who Meek Mill is,
Okay,
but
okay.
I don't listen.
I was messing. No, but so growing up, that's kind of what your household was like, I guess. But when was it that you came out and started dealing with whatever sort of that came with?
Okay, so, well, I knew I was gay when I was 5. I was...
Really?
Yes, yeah, I was
you think-
very young.
Do you
Do you
think it
know
was like
this
weird
story?
or like different? Or
Well, it wasn't taught.
Oh,
I was like, it was never taught in schools that this is something that could be possibly a thing. So I was just like, well, I guess I'm just different than everybody else.
And nobody you didn't know what being gay was?
Right, no, because it was
okay.
never mentioned. It was
Okay.
never taught in school. It was never taught
No
in sex
social-
ed or anything
social
like that.
environments?
Nope, nothing like that. So it was I was very confused when it was happening. About 8th grade, 9th grade, I was like, you know what, this is something that I am. I was watching a TV show called Degrassi, and they had a couple gay characters on the show, and I was like, this is something that like I am, and then I was really involved in my church in like 8th and 9th grade, and I continued throughout high school, but the moment I came out was I wrote a letter to my mom. She was going on vacation for 2 weeks in South Carolina.
And this is in 8th or 9th grade, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was going to a Bible study at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I left the letter on her stairs going up to her room, and I left. And she took me out of school to talk about it because she thought,
Can you tell us a little bit about what the letter was?
it was just saying, like, this is who I am. Like, I think I'm gay. Like, I've been attracted to men for a very long time.
Okay.
I feel like it's been like this since I was very young.
Was she surprised?
She was.
Okay.
She wanted grandchildren, and I was like, I'm absolutely not having grandchildren.
Are you
definitely
the
not.
only child?
No, I'm not. I have 2 brothers.
Okay.
Well, my older brother passed away in junior year of high school, but I have a younger brother who's getting married in August and has stepchildren already. So
Okay.
So she doesn't have to worry about that moment anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so then you told her, and what happened at the church? Were you still religious, or were you having difficulty dealing with that?
So my church was a Presbyterian church, but there's two...
I don't know what that means.
Well, so there's two basic forms of Presbyterian. There's more the liberal side of Presbyterian, the more conservative side of Presbyterian. Okay. So there's the Presbyterian church that follows the Bible and says, every single rule in the Bible is concrete. And then there's the liberal side that says, Jesus came, sacrificed himself for the forgiveness of everyone. The church that I was in was the conservative side, okay. So I was definitely having an issue with that. And I was a youth group leader, so I was leading group. I was playing my guitar. I was singing in front of everyone, and the youth pastor came to me and said, you have to step down as a youth group leader because you feel this way.
Did you tell him?
Yeah.
Well, so it's funny because I told one person and they said they were going to swear it to secrecy and never tell anybody ever. Nice. And then they did.
Of course.
And then I was like, the shade is real with all these people. So, and then my youth pastor found out through other people in the youth group. And
how did they approach you?
Well, they were like, hey, do you want to go get ice cream? And I'm like, sure, let's go get ice cream. Because who doesn't like ice cream on a 70-degree day, right? And they were like, so you have to step down. I was like, why?
Had you eaten ice cream yet or no?
Yeah. We were eating ice cream and they're like, yeah, so you have to step down.
Wow.
Did you continue eating the ice cream while they said that?
I did. Food's really important to me. So for me to do Ramadan is really, really significant because I love food.
How did you feel when he said that to you?
Betrayed. Kind of like you grow up. I grew up hearing stories of how Jesus was betrayed by Judas, and Judas was the person who turned him over to the court and everything like that, who crucified Jesus. And I kind of felt like Jesus in that situation because I felt family was betraying me. And from that moment on, it really molded my opinion of what religion was and spirituality was, because I never I went to a private Christian college because I believe in a creator. I believe that there could be something out there that's spiritually driving every single human on this earth. I don't necessarily believe it's has to be God or Allah or the creator as Native Americans refer to it, but I believe that there's a spiritual drive that is in this earth, and that's why I went to the private Christian school, because it had, one, the program that I wanted to do, and two, it was spiritually driven. It was a Wesleyan church that funded this school, but it was Catholics, Protestants, everything. Every single denomination that went to the school.
Were your friends and people around you supportive, or was it difficult coming out and dealing with that stuff? So
I actually have a friend who lives in Delaware right now, who I was very, very close with because of the church. And she actually kind of questioned her faith because I came out. I was really close with this person. Should I drop him as a friend because he's gay, or should I follow him and, speak up for the love that he's showing? And she spoke up and followed me, and wow. So
that's awesome. And I can't imagine that you were always this way, being this positive, outgoing person. Was there any difficulty coming to terms with other people and how they might see you or anything, or were you always this way?
No, so I wasn't always this way. In high school, I came in and out of the closet. That's what they call it when you come out.
In and out?
In and out, yeah. I 13 times, actually, I think was the running joke.
How do you go back in?
Well, you can just say, oh, I was confused, I'm bi now, or oh, no, I'm straight,
was that true, or was that just something you were telling people?
It was just something that I was telling people because of image. Because a lot of the times, oh, I'm gay, so you're the, ostracized person in the high school. I played hockey, I played lacrosse, I was in the band, I was in the choir, I was in the orchestra, I did the plays, I did the musicals, I did the lights, the set design, I did everything in high school because I was told
Troy Bolton over here.
Right, yeah. I was told that if I did everything, I would get a really good spot in college.
I think so. I think if you have all that, that's a good resume.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a pretty
yeah.
good resume.
Yeah.
Was it awkward in like locker rooms and stuff? Were people teasing you?
There was one moment when I was a senior in high school in the locker room where somebody found out that I was gay. Because it's not like something that I went and said, "Oh, hey, I'm Sean, I'm gay." That's not something that I did, nor would I ever do, because it's not that important. It's important, but it's not like...
Well, it's
It's
weird
the
if you would
first
say
thing.
that anyways.
Right.
I
like-
wouldn't- yeah,
why would
I don't
you?
think anybody introduces themselves with their sexual orientation.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
like, hey, I'm
Why,
straight, or-
like, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Why would anybody?
Yeah.
But somebody found out that I was gay, and they were like, he really can't be on the team anymore. And my best friend, and I guess they were a couple of my best friends because they were the captains, and they were like, if you don't feel comfortable with it, you can go off the team.
Huh.
Because we need
Fire.
him.
Yeah.
I like that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, and they brought it to the coach, who was my best friend's dad, who was more like a father figure to me than any other father figure that I've had in my life. So, like, it was really, it really showed something about their character that they were like, I'll stand up. I'll say, we want him on the team. If you don't feel like you want him on the team, you can get off the team.
Wow.
So after college, you joined the Air Force, was it?
I did. So, yeah, it's really strange because I did it backwards. Most people join the Air Force when they're 18. I joined the Air Force when I was 24.
Wow.
Wait, how old are you now?
28.
Oh,
Yeah.
So what was that like? And was being gay a challenge in the Air Force as well, or no?
Not really, no. I actually had a MTI, a military training instructor, what is often referred to as a drill instructor, who said, I don't care if you're gay, straight, lesbian, trans, whatever. If you are going to die for me, I will die for you.
damn.
And that's just something they said without even knowing anything. Okay.
So there's a part of, so the UCMJ is Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the law system within the military. There's one law, it's like UCMJ law number 139.2 that says like sodomy, which is like gay relationships, is illegal according to the military. And we were going over the UCMJ this week in basic training. And so...
Does that still exist?
The UCMJ?
That
What
law?
you just mentioned,
Yeah.
the law.
The law? Yes, it still does. But it says forced sodomy. So like rape.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they changed it. They rewrote the law because ever since Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, they had to change the law because it was something that gay people in the United States could do, was serve.
Well, being a part of the LGBT community, Trump did try to put a military ban on transgender people being active in military. Being a part of that community, how do you feel about that?
So unfortunately is that Trump actually succeeded in doing that.
Right.
I don't agree with it necessarily because there are people who have served who are trans and post-operational, like they've had the operation to become the gender that they feel like they have been their whole life. They've served. They've deployed. They've gone to Iraq. They've gone to Afghanistan. They've done their fair share, and now they can't serve. I don't necessarily agree. I can't speak against or in the name of the Air Force. I can only speak to what I feel. And
You seem like you have some sort of understanding towards it, though. Is there a logistical reason for why you seem like it could be okay for like where they're coming from? Because I don't know why there would be a reason for why a military person can't serve.
Yeah, same.
A transgender person serve in the military.
I don't feel like there's a reason for it. A lot of people are saying, the healthcare costs that it's going to cost to TRICARE, which is the healthcare system that the military uses. But
doesn't that come with anybody who might have any type of...
But there's
correct,
going to be more,
there,
right?
there is, yeah. So
But then
there's a
if
lot
it's
of
an
people,
issue.
and what I feel like the trans ban is going to cause is people questioning, should I come out as trans? Should I, live my true life? And if they say, no, and they struggle with it, then, you have the opportunity, or you see the opportunity that people are going to attempt suicide or commit suicide because of that,
Do you
which
sorry.
I feel like is not the right way to go about it. And it's the same thing with anything. Like, if you feel like, I don't necessarily agree with somebody deciding to abort a fetus, but at the same time, it's not my body to deal with their decision. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I don't
complicated.
know. It's very complicated because it's not just one area of expertise. You can't just say, oh, abortion is illegal. You know, you have to say, like, why it is, and you have to say what else it's going to affect. You have to say, and I don't know why the current administration would, but it's not my position to question why an administration would. I'm not a politician. I'm not the one who makes the laws. I vote, and I know how I vote, right?
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but do you have to necessarily agree? You can you can respectfully disagree with your boss, and as a reservist, you know, President Trump is my boss.
Right.
I don't necessarily have to agree with him on everything, but I do have to respect him as the commander-in-chief. But that being said, I personally, not with any Air Force behind me or anything like that, I personally do not agree with the trans ban. I do not speak on behalf of the Air Force.
Yeah.
I speak on behalf of myself.
How was the rest of the experience being in the Air Force? Why did you join that, and what was something you wanted to get out of there?
So I feel like I was lost personally. Like, I was just like, you know, working 3 jobs, and I was like, you know, the Air Force can turn things around. It can give me an education for free. It can give me a career basically for free. It paid for a lot of my bills and a lot of my debt, just because for the first 8.5 weeks I wasn't spending money and I was getting paid military pay. That's anything. If I had signed a lease or anything like that, they would have to pay for that lease, or they would have to pay for the break of the lease. All of my base pay. It wasn't like I had a crap ton of money in my bank account that I paid a lot of my debt off with. And it was probably a really good decision for me to join the Air Force because it really structured my life. If I didn't join the Air Force, I wouldn't have moved to the Baltimore area, and I wouldn't have known you guys, or I wouldn't have known Holden, my partner. So I feel like the Air Force is definitely a really, really good, and it has been a really good opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's great. So you actually shared with us in your email that you are HIV positive.
Correct.
I want to sort of get into that now, if that's okay.
Okay.
And really just start off with, when did you find that out, and what was your initial reaction?
So it's 2019. I found it out March of 2017. So about 2 years ago.
Okay.
A little over 2 years ago. And my initial reaction was, you know, I'm surprised. Because I was taking the measures that I needed to take to prevent it. And unfortunately, I came in contact with a strain of the virus that was resistant to the medication that I was taking. And that's how it happened. I was taking a medication called Truvada, which is commonly known as PrEP. There's actually even commercials on TV right now for it. I take the pill, I take the pill, I take the pill. But I'm not taking birth control, I'm taking PrEP. And that's basically the whole stance of the commercial. I was taking that, and I was shocked because I was taking that. And you know, they say it's 92% effective to preventing HIV transmission. And unfortunately, I was part of the 8%. So
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
Did any of your outlook on life or anything change when you found that out?
It didn't really change. I was listening to a master sergeant in the Air Force retire, and it was her retirement speech. And what really changed my outlook of life was that she said, live more, love more, laugh more. Live more, do more things that you're afraid of doing. Do more things that you've never thought about doing before. Love more people, love more activities, love more life. And laugh more. You don't necessarily have to take everything as serious as it is. And that's really what changed my outlook when I became HIV positive, was because I was like, you know, this, if anything, this is just like a nudge to live more, laugh more, love more.
Yeah.
So that's how I started living.
And
What?
was there any health things that came up to how you found out, or did you just
So every single 3 months you have to go and do blood tests when you're on Truvada because of liver and kidney functioning, because it's processed through the liver and it can be extremely hard on the liver. So when you're on PrEP or anything like that, you're not supposed to be drinking too much. And I never really drank a lot. I don't really drink a lot now because I'm a lightweight and I can't really take alcohol like all of my friends can because they drink a lot sometimes, and I'm like, 1, maybe 2 and I'm done. Like I can't really focus on a lot when I have 2 drinks in, and so then I just drink water for the rest of the day.
How did that end up affecting your day-to-day life, and then also your relationships with people, sharing that with your family? How did that change?
So I haven't shared it with my
anything.
family, actually.
Really?
There's one person that I have shared with is my brother, but I haven't shared it with my grandparents. I haven't shared it with my mom. Obviously, I've shared it with my partner, and we take the proper steps in order to prevent anything really negative from happening. It hasn't really affected my day-to-day life.
Like, it doesn't affect your health or anything?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
No, and it's really strange because the only thing that it has affected was my Air Force life, because I have to go through a process to get approved to continue service in the Air Force, because a lot of their HIV policy is based off of 90s and 80s HIV policy, which says, in 1 to 2 years, that person's going to die because the treatment wasn't significant then. Now the treatment is literally like a pill that's like, I don't know, an inch big and they're like very tiny.
And that's all you have to do to
That's all I have to do
healthy?
to stay, to stay undetectable and my viral load to be under 20 viruses per milliliter of blood. So like it's very, very low if you're undetectable, and there's a very low chance of us like spreading HIV if you're undetectable. Yeah.
Did that affect your relationship in any way?
No, it didn't. No, absolutely not.
And is this something that you? You're open to talking about it on a public podcast, but why is it something that you are willing to talk about?
Because I think it's important for people to understand and to end the stigma of HIV. And there's a lot of negative stigma that comes with HIV. For example, a lot of people think that, if you have HIV, everyone's going to get it. And everyone, like I can touch you right now and you're not going to get HIV. And a lot of people think that, if I touch you, that you're going to get HIV. And
if like people are listening to this podcast right now, could they get it through their ear?
No, they couldn't.
Just making sure.
Right. So there's only one way that you can really get HIV, and that's to come into contact with a high viral load of HIV blood, HIV positive blood, and you're not taking the proper steps in order to prevent that. PrEP, like I said, is 92% effective when it comes to preventing HIV transmission. And if you come into contact with somebody who's HIV positive but undetectable, you have a 0% chance, according to the CDC, that you're going to transmit HIV.
So even if it was a situation with your patients or anything where there was contact of blood, it still wouldn't affect them.
Right, correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really funny because like the patient that I put into hold yesterday, I was like, it would have been really funny if she would have like scratched me to the point where I started bleeding, because like that probably could have been a huge issue for a lot of people.
Right.
If the patient's guardian were to find out that the person who she scratched and now has blood under their nail was HIV positive, that could be a huge issue.
But ultimately,
alas, the federal government protects me in doing my care. There's a law called the SHAH law that protects HIV positive people who are in the healthcare career field against stuff like that because of what the CDC says. So,
speaking of stigmas and stuff, do you think that there are, recently I think in the last couple of years, there's a lot of like hypersensitivity, especially online with different communities. Do you think that there's something that the gay community is being misperceived from the outside, or that the gay community is doing wrong almost, like the way that people are interacting with them? Does that make sense?
I don't think there's necessarily anything that the gay community is doing wrong or any other community is doing wrong with the gay community. I think the issues that rely or that lie in the gay community are within the gay community. For example, you know, you have a lot of gay men who are like, you know, I don't want to be near a lesbian. Or
Really?
you have a lot of lesbians who are like, you know, I'm going to move in with somebody and then I'm going to go against everything they do. It's a lot of infighting within the community. Like, I know recently there have been a lot of DC and Baltimore bar closures for the gay community. And there have been a lot of issues within the gay community at bars being like, oh, straight women can't come into our bar because it's a church for gay men. And I'm like, you know, if straight women want to support their friends, then they should be able to support their friends.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah.
Right? But it's our privacy. No. You know, you fought for all these equalities and everything like that. And now you want to say, no, you're not allowed in our bar because you're a straight woman. That's not fair.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of infighting, and it's a lot of like discussing between gay men, gay women, trans people in general, that is just like throwing the gay community and the LGBTQ plus community into a whirlwind of infighting. Yeah.
Is there anything that people from the outside can do to support the gay community if, say, for example, they don't have a friend that's gay or anything like that?
Just be their friend. Like, just give them a hug. You know, PFLAG is Parents and Friends and for Lesbians and Gays. They have a mom group, is what I like to call them, where they go to pride festivals and events that say, hey, give me a hug. Like, if you don't have a mom or anything like that, I'll be your mom. Give me a hug. You know, so stuff like that. Just like involve them in the community. And realistically, we shouldn't focus on labels. We should take pride in who we are, but we shouldn't really focus on labels, because labels are what separate us, not what make us one.
Yeah.
Right?
The reason I even brought this up was because I think that communities that we're a part of seem to go through similar things, where whether it be like the Muslim community or the South Asian community, sometimes I see on the things that people are arguing about and the things that the small little details that people are focusing on, and I feel like that puts us, you know, 2 steps back in the way that we're perceived to the rest of the world, where we're already kind of like in the minority, instead of being like more welcoming and more informative when it comes to like the bigger chunk of things. So that's why I was saying that. But how about gay parades? Do you go to those?
Oh, absolutely. So like I use them as an advertisement experience, because I make harnesses.
Right.
I'm wearing one right now. Right.
Yeah, show it off to the camera.
So I use them definitely as an advertisement experience. I was terrified to go to pride parades when I was 18, 19 years old.
Wait, why?
Where do they happen? Like,
So there's one in Baltimore, the 15th of June. There's one in DC.
is it a national day or?
No, so it's a national month. June month is
okay.
Pride Month.
Okay.
So if you look, Levi's has a Pride line. Adidas has a Pride line.
What does that look like?
Just lots of rainbows.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of rainbows.
Are you cool with that, or is that annoying?
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
I love rainbows. Rainbows are cool. I have a pair of shorts that just have rainbows on it. Just rainbows, legit.
I feel like anybody can wear that. You know? Like
Right.
Rainbows.
Yeah. Express has a pride line. A lot of companies are like pandering to the LGBTQ plus community, but you know, I love it because it says, you know, we support gay people. I don't care if it's pandering. You know, I don't care if it's just for business. Because, you know, I go to pride parades just for business, right? I am actually having a booth down in Norfolk, Virginia during their pride weekend, the 20th through the 24th or whatever it is. And like I said, I go there because of business.
Yeah. What were you asking?
Sorry.
You were saying you're afraid of going to...
I
these
was
parades.
when I was 18 and 19 because I wasn't sure what to expect. Like, I really wasn't. And then I started to learn about where the gay community has come from. And then I was like, you know what? This is nothing that I should be scared of. This is something that I should embrace wholeheartedly. And ever since, like, I did start learning about it, I've embraced it.
Can straight people go?
Oh, absolutely. I've
what
actually
should they
invited your
expect?
sister, Neha,
Oh yeah.
to Baltimore Pride. And
Let's all go.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, it would be so much fun.
What happens there?
A parade.
Okay. You
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
march and
Yeah, like a lot of people just like walk down. My like Johns Hopkins has a whole bunch of people marching in the parade.
Cool.
So like where it started was actually 50 years ago in 1969 in New York City at a bar called Stonewall. There were a bunch of people, and it was called the Stonewall Riots. The Stonewall bar was a gay bar, and then it was illegal to be gay or function as a gay facility or anything like that. And a nice trans person called Marsha P. Johnson threw her first high heel and brick at a police officer, and that's what actually started a
Threw a
pride
high
festival.
heel at a police officer?
Yes.
High
You
heel.
want to get hit in the face with a high heel?
I don't. I saw my sister wearing a really high heel today, and I was like,
Right. You want to get hit in the face with a stiletto? Mm-mm.
Not
No,
at
you
all.
don't. No, it will go through your eye.
That's great. You said that you go there for a business opportunity. You have a line of harnesses?
I do. Yes,
Okay.
I do.
what do they do?
Like, correct my
What-
ignorance, but like, what is a harness? And, like, what's the
So
purpose?
they could be for a lot of things. Adam Rapone, the gold medalist figure skater, like wore it to I think the Grammys or something like that. Wore a harness to the Grammys and made it a fashion statement.
It's
And
not a
then-
fashion statement?
Well, it can be.
Okay.
I mean, I'm wearing it as a
yeah,
fashion statement
true.
right now.
It's so cute.
I thought you had a bag on at first.
Yeah.
That's why I was
Yeah.
saying you look like a Pokemon trainer, but then I realized it's the...
I always look like a Pokemon trainer. No, but I mean, there's a different thing. Like, there's a whole community based off of fetish and harnesses specifically, and they could be used during sexual activity or anything like that, or they could be used for fashion. There's a bunch of different colors that you can, what they call flag.
Is it like taboo to wear it?
No, absolutely not. Not anymore. It used to be. So, like, there used to be bars where it was only fetish gear allowed, which is what a harness is.
Is this like an
fetish gear.
S&M thing? Oh my god.
It can be, yeah, absolutely. It can be.
Okay.
Or it can be just for, a go-go dancer on a box at a club and dancing.
Is there something, so you have these like two little hooks in the front. Is there something that attaches to these?
These,
More
yeah, I
harnesses?
mean, so, I mean, it can go down to, like, pant things to hold, like suspender type
Okay.
things. And I actually have a harness that's like that. That's not, I didn't make it, so I didn't want to wear it.
Oh, right. But you
Yeah.
made this one.
Right, so I
Okay.
wanted to wear it, right?
Amber's got a lot of interest in this, so
Yeah.
maybe she'll... Maybe
No,
looking
I
up.
mean, I'm just curious.
it looks
like,
high quality.
I mean,
Very
he
high
made it. Like, I'm just, curious about, like, how'd you get into that business?
Anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah, I was bored and I ordered material and I started making it. The material that I actually use is the same material that is part of my belt for my military uniform. So I was like, it would be really cool if this material was in harness form. So
military grade harness.
yeah, that's what I
Wow.
advertise as. That's why my business name is Yes Sir Gear.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's cool.
Yeah.
And your partner actually has a shirt on that says Homo Gang.
yeah.
And that's something that you guys are releasing as well?
Well, we already released it last year, so
Okay.
I'm not going to release it again. If I were to release any T-shirt, it would be more in line with my latest photo shoot.
What was
Which
this
is, you gotta tell
inspired by?
people
The inspiration.
the inspiration.
Okay, so actually, you, FARAS, and I think Dower, and I don't know who else.
Shimmer.
Yeah. You did a song called Pocky Gang, which was a parody of Gucci Gang, right? So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a T-shirt that says Homo Gang on it.
That's right, people. Homo Gang inspired by
Gang.
packing gangs. That's
so
hilarious.
I love how there's like a military inspired type twist into these.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's really where my background comes from, and that's the material. I mean, the military uses this nylon material for a lot of different things, whether it be on backpacks or
Restraining?
It could be, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I know that I've definitely come into contact with this nylon training for mental health technician for a restraining table for psychology patients and everything.
Sure.
Yeah. And as for your image and the way that people are perceiving you after listening to this, why did you want to come on this podcast, and what do you want to leave everybody with?
Well, we've been talking about it for a while now. I just thought it would be a really good opportunity to get my story out there. Your podcast is something that gets anyone's story out there. That's why it's called Strange Flavors, because it goes into any specific lifestyle as opposed to just like focusing on the gay lifestyle or the straight lifestyle or the Muslim lifestyle or anything like that, right? It doesn't focus on that. It goes into everyone's story. And that's why I really wanted to get my story out there.
You want to work as our PR?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
But before you go, there is one last question that we ask every stranger at the end of every podcast, and SHAH-AMEER will ask you that right now.
If you could describe yourself in any flavor, what flavor would it be and why?
Salsa.
Ooh.
I would be a salsa. Yes.
Of course.
Okay.
Why?
So like not like a mild salsa or a hot salsa, but like a medium salsa, because you know, like there's the onions and the peppers that are like really sweet, but then there's that kick. That's who I am. I'm really sweet. I'm really outgoing, but then there's that kick that'll keep you accountable for who you are.
Like a heel coming at a police officer.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, Sean, thank you again for coming on here. I
Thank
think your
you.
story will inspire a bunch of people. And after this podcast, we're actually going to go and open our iftar.
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely.
And for everybody listening, thank you again for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.